This is a lesson recap for Devastation and the New Freedom. It's our last Civil War lesson. The next unit will be Reconstruction. So we get the election of 1864. Remember, this is only taking place inside the Union states. That's it. Lincoln runs against General McClellan. He must have been so annoyed to run against General McClellan after McClellan choked at Yorktown, blew a chance to possibly win the Civil War, and defied one of Lincoln's orders to do so. At the start, it actually looked pretty bad for Lincoln, but eventually the battles start going better for the Union, and Lincoln wins decisively. The only states he'll lose are New Jersey. New Jersey had been a rough one for him back in 1860. Stephen Douglas got some electoral votes there. And Kentucky, his birth state, so that must have really stung. But he wins decisively. You get the 13th Amendment. It is passed in 1865. It outlaws slavery in the United States. We'll talk in class more about its limitations. But you want to know, 13th Amendment, 1865, outlaws slavery. By this point, slavery could not continue. The film about Lincoln is a lot about the passage of the 13th Amendment. The surrender of Appomattox. First of all, when you think about Appomattox, it's the town itself is called Appomattox Courthouse. It's not some courthouse. There was not a courthouse involved. The town is called Appomattox Courthouse. For short, we say Appomattox, but that's what it is there. Lee and Grant meet in a private home. In 1861, McLean was living, the guy who owns it was living in Manassas, and the opening shots of the Civil War landed in his front yard. So the guy, Wilmer McLean, was there for the beginning and the end of the war. When we talk about the surrender, Lee and Grant are great examples of a great loser and a great winner. They both handle it with class and dignity. The Confederate soldiers are not rounded up and put in some sort of prison camp. They can take their horses and their mules and they can go home. They would not be punished as traitors. I mean, they were traitors, but they would not be punished as such as long as they abided by the rules of the U.S. Grant feeds starving Confederate soldiers, and when the Union Army began to actually celebrate at the ceremony, Grant orders them to stop. And then in April 1865, Lincoln is assassinated. This really ended the hopes that the South had of a smooth Reconstruction. Lincoln did not want a very punitive Reconstruction. And after the assassination and after Lee surrenders, other armies will surrender through May of 1865, but Lee's surrender is considered the real end of the war. John Wilkes Booth, a very famous actor. The man was known throughout the country as a stage actor, and that was really the only acting at the time. There was no film or TV, so he's a stage actor. He's famous. He assassinates Booth at Ford's Theater. Booth's accomplice stabbed the Secretary of State, William Seward, who did survive, although his face was scarred for the rest of his life. There was another assassin who was supposed to kill Vice President Andrew Johnson. He chickened out at the last moment, so there was a little conspiracy to kill Lincoln and the top members of his cabinet. And Booth was killed in Virginia after a massive manhunt to find him. He's killed in a barn after he locks himself in there. A shot is fired at him, and the barn is burned. He gets out of there, but he is shot and he dies. So that's a quick summation of the last lesson of our Civil War unit.